Hello. In this video I'm going to be replacing the main control board, which they call the PCB in the manual. The reason I'm replacing it is because the refrigerator is not defrosting its coils properly. It gets iced over, blocked up, and it starts getting warm in the refrigerator area. This refrigerator is a Samsung model RF217. I have to say it has been fairly trouble prone. There's a lot of information on the web about the defroster not actually defrosting the drain for the evaporator coils in the refrigerator, and there's a lot of moisture that goes down into the vegetable bin, but that's another subject of another video. In this case, I'm just determined that the defroster coil itself is working, so I think the problem is in the main control board that runs all of the functions of the refrigerator. This is actually a two-step procedure. The first time when you go in, you're going to just be looking at the model number so that you can order your new part. I'd already done that and put it back together, at least temporarily. Now that I have the new part, I'm going to take it all the way apart and disconnect the connectors on the board and replace the board with the new one. So that's what we'll be seeing here. I'm going to remove the access panel in the back of the refrigerator. Before you do anything, make sure that you have unplugged the refrigerator. No need to disconnect the water supply for the ice maker, but you don't want to go anywhere near the electronics board with the electricity plugged in. The first thing we need to do is to get access to the control board by removing the access panel on the back of the refrigerator at the bottom. There are 5 screws, 2 long ones on the bottom and 3 shorter ones across the top. I'm going to remove those with a number 2 Phillips screwdriver, and it'll take me just a second to get that done. Okay, this is the last screw here that holds it in. I'll remove this last one, and the panel lifts right off, and set it aside. You'll notice in here we have now access to the coils and the fan for the condenser. This is the condenser. Yours may be real dusty. This would be a great time to get a upholstery brush attachment to your vacuum cleaner and go ahead and clean that as well as you can. But do be careful. Don't disturb too many of the wires, and be gentle, because a lot of this refrigerant plumbing is rather fragile. So be careful. Don't get too rough. The main control board is inside this gray plastic box here, and we're going to have to remove it by removing these 2 mounting screws, and also making room for getting it out. I'm going to have to remove this retainer clip for the power cord. You'll also notice that right here is the valve for the ice maker water supply, and they have mounted that to this gray box. So I'm going to remove that screw there also, just so we can remove this box out and get access to the control board that's on the inside. That's all done with, again, with a Phillips head screwdriver. So it'll be a total of 4 screws. Okay, so everything's loose now, and what I'm going to do is pull this valve out of the way. I've already pulled the power cord out of the way, and now the box can come straight out, being careful to work the wires out without pulling too hard on them. Now you see that I have the gray plastic box, and it's held together with some little snaps. There's one right here, and then there's a couple more here, and we'll just pop those, and there's another one there. We'll pop those with a screwdriver and get the thing to open up. So, camera down, taking a regular blade screwdriver, and popping the case apart. All we need to do is open it up. You don't need to remove any more pieces other than to identify what you have. You'll notice a row of connectors here and another row across the top. And before you go too much further, you would want to identify what board you have so that you can make sure that your replacement board is the correct one. I found the identifying label of the part number of this board way back here in the corner, in the corner next to the can capacitor. You might have to look around a little bit, but it's not one of these big stickers on the chips. It's actually printed on the board itself. Quite small, but it's there. Now what we're going to do is we're going to remove all of these connectors, and it should make it possible then to lift the board out. There will be some little clips that we have to remove to get the board out. If you think you might have trouble remembering how everything went in, then I would suggest taking a picture with your cell phone or some camera so that you can get everything back the way it was. It looks to me like these connectors are pretty well Murphy proof. I'm not sure that you would even be able to possibly plug them in wrong, but it's a good idea to have a picture for backup in any case. So I'm going to go ahead and disconnect all of the connectors. Okay, I got all the connectors disconnected now. I found that these along here were very easy with my fingers. However, I didn't have enough room in here for my fingers. You'll notice that you have these little clips, these little things that you have to squeeze together in order to pull them off of the blocks. And I didn't have enough room here with my big fat fingers. You may be able to do that, but I couldn't without the help of some pliers. Be very, very careful that you don't crush the actual blocks itself. That would be sort of a disaster if you did that. So make sure you're just grabbing the part that has to be squeezed together, and then gently rock back and forth as you're doing this, and to pull the connector off of these pins that are inside the block. Now all we have to do is figure out how to remove this mounting itself. And I see that it is snapped into the box, so I'm going to figure out how to get that out. Okay, so what we have is the board itself is held in with one tab here and a tab here and a tab here that are actually part of this gray box. This looks like it's made to be pulled back, so I'm going to pull this back while I gently pry with a screwdriver and try to lift this board up so that I can pull it out away from these other tabs. The kicker is to not break this tab here, so I'm going to have to be gentle with my screwdriver. Okay, that's all it took. I just pried right here gently and was able to push that tab back, and now the board will lift right out of the box. That's what we're going to replace. Okay, I was able to snap the new board in by fitting it underneath these two tabs here, pushing back on this while I pressed down with my finger here. So as thumb here, finger here, I was able to put enough force in there to snap it in. So it's in place now. Next thing to do will be to put it all back together with all the connectors. Start with the capacitor, which I had to pull out just to get access. And now I'm going to replace all of these connectors all the way around, and they just go right in where they came out. Okay, well I've put all of the bore wires back together and closed the box back up and snapped it back together. Now I just feed in the wires ahead of the box, and it should slip right into its cavity in the refrigerator. Lining up the holes, and I'll just make sure that nothing is binding or in the way and that everything looks like it's where it belongs. Then I'll replace the screws, reattach the main power cable and the water valve, and we should be back in business and ready to put the whole cover back on, and the refrigerator is ready to go.